tech for business sake. That's really what this is about, isn't it? We use tech, or we should be using tech, not for the sake of tech, not to look cool, not to show that we are really innovative and out there and have all the buzzwords, but only when it enhances our business. I'm Howard Feldman, and this is Synthesis TV.
This is Synthesis TV, keeping you on the edge of technology and business.
Joining me in studio today is Head of Cloud Services, and that is Darryl Govender at Synthesis. Darryl, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me, Howard.
So would that bother you, that statement? I mean, do you want to implement tech for every business, irrespective?
I think what we see more than ever is tech as a key enabler for business. And when we think about business, we're talking about end users, you and I, on the street, consuming services from businesses that are providing, financial services, retail services, delivery, car hailing, etc., those types of things. That's ultimately what business is set up for, is their end user, their end consumer, the man on the street, again, you and I, to go and realize the best value out of that business service, whatever it is, or that product. And tech is that key kind of enabler. So you said it earlier, tech for the sake of tech, and tech delivery and organizations such as Synthesis definitely play a big role in accelerating the journey to realize value from technology. And how do we keep elevating that and playing higher up the value chain is very topical at the moment. Has been for a while, of course, but I think we're seeing the exacerbation.
Playing up the value chain, higher up the value chain?
So if you think about, and maybe just to gloss over quickly, Synthesis as an organization, very good, strong technical delivery capability, software and financial services, then cloud engineering, then data, then managed services, etc. Great. But it was very focused on requirements and delivery towards specific requirements, and then making sure that that was delivered in good stead. However, I think the value proposition for us as an organization and what our customers are asking of us is, okay, that's great. Thank you. You're a trusted delivery partner. Get it. What else are you doing to move the needle for me? So as an example, throughout the delivery, are you exposing the way that I as a business can be faster, have a more resilient service, have a more available service? Can I prove sentiment with my end customer through what you're doing for me? All of these types of considerations are starting to play a little bit more of a focus in our world, definitely. And we're seeing a lot of customers wanting a lot more of that from, I think, in general, their partners.
So in other words, a customer should start off looking at their business, but actually looking rather at their customer. How can they make their customer's experience better? 100%. What are the areas that their customers are becoming frustrated with? What are the ways in which their customers could get better service? What is the way in which they can serve more customers more efficiently, retain data, make sure that they can leverage that which they're already doing with their customer? So start with the customer.
100%.
Start with the customer and then look at the business and say, well, is there a way here that I could, as a business, do things better?
Yes. So if you think about it, ultimately all businesses are incentivized by creating that stickiness in terms of customer experience, in terms of customer longevity. And us as a partner engaging with them, and all other partners really, is to go and help them with exactly that. So how do we prove that we can help a customer use their service more? So whether it's Checkers 60/60 or it's Netflix or it's Uber, is how do we make that stickiness and how do we create more value to that customer so they keep coming back and maybe they keep using more of you, ultimately, is what you want.
So it helps build customer loyalty as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because it's easy.
Yeah. So, and coming back to the tech side, if you're doing tech for tech, it's very easy to go and deliver to specific requirements based on, what a business needs or their book of work or whatever they've planned. But ultimately, playing up the value chain is engaging very directly and influencing the roadmap around what needs to be delivered. The other side of the coin is we need to be able to deliver that very quickly. So that proof of concept, proof of value, getting to market quickly, getting feedback from, again, it's the customer. The customer is going to really give you the proof that something's working. And then being able to make sure that you can very quickly make sure of the operational efficiencies around what you're doing. If there's any specific regulations you need to adhere to, all of that stuff needs to be in place as fast as possible so that you can just keep on that kind of exponential curve.
I would imagine that a challenge that customers have, that clients have, is they've been doing business in the same sort of a way for years. They might see a competitor leaping ahead. They might see an idea in another business that they could incorporate, but they aren't experts in tech.
Yeah.
So it must be quite difficult for them to say, hold on a minute, maybe we could do this a little bit differently. How does that normally play out?
So I think that, that's been a problem for a very long time around, that realization takes an enabler. It has been for very generationally, has been an enabler. How do you, to your point, how do you make sure that you as, let's say, if you're a financial services provider, how do you embrace that technology change? How do you recognize that not only am I now a banking institution, I'm actually a technology company. And more than that, I would take it further, say I'm a people organization that leverages technology that happens to have a banking license, as an example. So trying to marry that engagement and that change in an organization, I think takes a bit of time. I would say that most large enterprises are on that engagement or on that journey. And sorry, not just large, I think across the board really. And, a partner like a Synthesis can help, to your point, to inject that type of steer.
And especially because they've got the experience. So in a similar industry, this is what we might have done, and this could be a good idea. Who does the conversation begin with? Does it begin with the tech people within the company or the business strategy people within the company?
I think for this type of journey, you're typically engaging more around the business stakeholder. The technology stakeholder is looking at how they improve things operationally. So they're saying, look, I've got this thing, I've got the service that I'm in charge of. I've got to make sure security is maintained. I've got to make sure there's operational efficiencies and cost reductions, all of those types of things. And absolutely, there's value to be realized there. But I think the fundamental value that customers are trying to get towards is exactly what we talked about earlier, which was that, can I get more customers? Can I retain more customers? Can I get them consuming more of the service? And fundamentally, that leads itself to business and that strategic road mapping.
Right. So as head of cloud, that's obviously your focus. Give me some examples with customers that you've dealt with, how cloud has enhanced and furthered their business.
Yeah, so cloud, when we talk about tech enablers, cloud currently, generationally, is the key enabler that organizations are looking to adopt.
Okay.
So as an example, and it started for, I think, varying reasons previously. I think as it started to mature, definitely in South Africa, it was, well, we have some security concerns which were eventually swept away or managed.
Dealt with.
Same with regulatory. Then there were latency problems around not having regions in the country, etc. So all of those things have started to move away. And customers started to embrace and realize, hey, I can do this. I can close down a data center and I can realize cost benefits, etc., that kind of thing. And as the maturity is improving, they're realizing that cloud is not just a way, like a place to just house your workloads, as an example. You also want to look at the operational, I would say, again, the operational efficiency of something like the cloud. So as an example, how have they architected their data centers versus what you would have done yourself? How have they architected services for high availability, security, etc. cost versus what you would have done yourself? So that ties back to the ability to just reuse something that's available off the shelf, so to speak. And then the other parts of that is, of course, it leads to staff productivity benefits. So now that same size team that you have, you can repurpose them for more value-oriented work. So typically, an example is somebody who's racking and stacking a server, or managing a network, or being an admin on a database. A lot of that can be pushed to the cloud vendor fundamentally to save that person time during the day to tackle other business initiatives. So again, this could be something that is an experiment that you want to try, or it's engaging on a completely different business pursuit as compared to operational use case. And then finally, all of that kind of bubbles up into that business agility side of things. So as an example, the ability with cloud to be able to start up things very quickly, and again, to experimentation, fail fast, fail cheap, fail forward, i.e. learn from what you've done, and then be able to actually create a more competitive business through that.
So let's talk about that.
Yeah.
How do you, once somebody's moved to the cloud,
Yes.
so now they've got this ability to be more agile. They much more efficient in their systems, in their operations. They're not getting caught up in the daily grind of trying to manage that.
Yes.
What else does cloud allow them to do beyond that point?
I think when you get to that level of maturity, what it really allows is that you can just try more things more often. So as an example, wouldn't you love as a consumer to just get access to more features from your providers? Just give me new things. Let me try new things. Let me find things that work for me, that engage me, that understand me. Like you want that kind of personalization and experience. And also you want to be bombarded's the wrong word, but you really want to get that experience that says, look, we're moving quickly, we're creating a lot of value in your life, we're becoming indispensable, which is not a bad thing, and we're making your life fundamentally easier, better.
So in a way, for a customer, it allows the company to get to know me better.
It does, because ultimately they can try very many different things a lot faster than they ever were able to do before, and they can take that feedback loop from the customer themselves, the most valuable input, to say that this is working, this is not working. Let's try more of this. Let's cut that off. And they've done that in a far shorter period of time and a lot less expensively than they would have done it previously.
If you think about it, that whole time is reduced.
100%.
So that you can try new products, or new ways of, whether it's communicating, interacting, retaining information about the client, etc.
And I mean, I think you can agree, like nowadays we've become accustomed to things being available all the time, things moving incredibly quickly, touch of a button, just out of the pocket.
That's true as well.
And all organizations need to come on that journey. A good example is Checkers with their 60/60, moving away from just a pure play. Come into the stores. What is the store experience like? They're looking more actively at what is that digital experience, and how can we make sure more customers actually come into our platform or leverage our service in this new age. So all of these types of innovations, I would say, are strongly backed by the ability to use something
and it's interesting because we do expect it. We really do expect it. I know that if we're sitting on the weekend and looking for a product, we're going to go with a company that is interactive immediately, even if it's over at night or on a weekend, and gives us that real-time information access to whatever it is that we're looking for. We're no longer happy to send an email and have somebody contact us on Monday between 9 and 5.
It is that improved customer experience. Because I think if you think about it from a time perspective, people are looking for ways to save time. I think life demands so much from everyone nowadays. So any opportunity to save time, have convenience, have a good experience, have a secure experience, all of these types of things really lend themselves to good digital and digital-backed customer journeys, which, again, lends itself to cloud very well.
So what would you say, you as head of cloud at Synthesis, what is your most exciting what excites you most about the space?
I think there's so much opportunity, even though we've realized so much value with cloud. So whether it's AWS, GCP, Azure, etc., you name it, from a tier 1 public cloud provider perspective, is the fact that our customers in South Africa and abroad are still really getting to grips on how to do this really well. So there's so much potential and opportunity to create more value, to create those better experiences, and then leverage the right tools for the job. Come back to the tech side. The interest around there is how do you best leverage those, and then how do you pass on that value to your customers? Because at the end of the day, it will be guys like you and I who benefit from that.
Oh, absolutely.
And because
and then ultimately the customer, the
brand
client,
itself.
the brand.
Exactly. So I think that potential around just being able to really do it properly and like properly good, and to the level where it is creating that traction value that we talk about, back to guys like you and I, everyone on the end consumer. I think that is really exciting.
Where is South Africa in all of this? How do we compare? I mean, it's a big world out there, so I'm not asking how we compare to Lesotho, but how do we compare to countries in Europe, United States?
Maturity is a bit behind where it needs to be. I think the others have been on the journey for a lot longer. I think they've probably looked at different varying tactics that work for their geography, work for their customer base, etc. We also, like SA, we've got a very different way, I would say, of doing things or approaching things. Very different landscape in terms of the customer segments and the verticals that we have, I think. So that does play a part. But ultimately, I would say it's been a very positive trajectory in terms of us adopting the cloud.
Brilliant.
However, is it where it needs to be, and is it world class as yet? I wouldn't necessarily say so.
Well, that's the opportunity, really,
Exactly.
because we could see such amazing innovation
Yeah.
taking place, and we could learn from what's happening around the world and lessons that they might have learned along the way. But as you say, I think it's important. The South African angle is important because we understand, working within South Africa, we understand the nuance of a South African business. It is different, whether we think so or not. There's cultural aspects, there's demographics, there's just the way in which we interact in South Africa with our brands. I think that is important.
The point around the potential, I think, with cloud and getting the most out of it, I think that is still a global kind of phenomenon that we need to actually embrace and improve over time. So South Africa is no different there. I think there's still a lot of opportunity to leverage cloud providers more effectively so that it can create more traction for the likes of yourself and me.
But ultimately, it is tech for business sake. Darryl Govender, thank you. Chatting to Darryl, who is the head of cloud at Synthesis Software Technologies. Very interesting conversation. We're going to do more of these. I'm Howard Feldman for Synthesis TV.